9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Discussing everything about the afterlife and spirit world. Coming to you all the way from Ireland, it's Sandie Byrne.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Life After Life with me, Sandie Byrne. So for this episode, I want to continue on with the theme that I started in last week's episode, where I talked about pathways of possibility and whether or not I, or any psychic for that matter, can actually predict your future. So if you haven't already listened to that episode, you might want to go back to that one first before listening to this one here. Okay? Because in that last episode, I spoke about how your future isn't set in stone and how a psychic can only tell you what's coming up for you. That it's up to you to manipulate your own energy to make sure that it does or doesn't happen, as you prefer. And, I talk about this often, but everything comes back to energy, because what you're open to receiving from the universe, and, what you put out there is what you're going to get back. Okay, so you have to be open. And, at the time of recording this, I have a really good and recent example of this, okay? Because just yesterday, I was interviewed live on Irish television, okay? And it went well, it was fine, all was good. But during the interview, I was asked to give a quick reading to both of the presenters that were interviewing me, okay? There were two ladies. And before the segment went live on air, I had asked both ladies if they were open to anything or if I should keep it simple, because sometimes private and personal stuff comes up. And they both told me that they were completely open to anything that I wanted to say. But as soon as I began to talk live on air, it became apparent that they really were not open to it, okay? And one of them in particular kept talking over me. She didn't allow me to finish my sentences, and she completely cut me off at the end without actually letting me give her the message that I wanted to give her. Okay, she focused in on the first thing I said and completely cut off the message. Okay, that was fine. It was okay. All was good. It was the confines of live television. We were, restricted as to what time we have. But you would be amazed how many times it happens that people pay me for readings and they treat me the very same. They don't listen to what I'm saying. They cut me off, They concentrate on certain things without listening to what I'm actually trying to tell them. And that's because their energy is completely closed. They only want to hear the good stuff maybe, or, they're looking for a particular outcome. And when they don't get exactly what they're looking for, they completely close down and they're not open to receiving anything other than what they wanted. Like they came with an idea in their head. They wanted a new job, they wanted a new relationship, whatever it might be. And when that didn't come up as the first thing, then they completely closed down. They didn't want to hear anything else. Okay? And this is what I mean by being open. Okay? Life is not always going to give you roses. Sometimes you'll get lemons and you have to manipulate the energy around you. Okay? And, of course your own energy, but also the energy around you and how you deal with things in order to make life happen for you in the best way possible. Okay, I hope I'm making sense with this. I keep asking if I'm making sense as if you were here in the room with me, but, it is what it is. And, we discussed last week, I said this, I don't believe that you arrive on this earth with a predetermined list of everything that's going to happen to you while you're here. Okay, not at all. My belief is that when we have an agreed number of lessons or occurrences that we need to experience in order for us to learn and to develop ourselves as spiritual beings. Okay? So we have a certain amount of things that we need to experience while we're here, so that when we return to the spirit world, we're much more experienced and much more knowledgeable than we had been before. It's all about learning. Okay? And I think I said this last week as well. It's the lessons that are predetermined, but not how we learn them. Okay, so we have to learn certain things, but how we learn them is up to us, and we attract them in our energy. Okay, so for example, okay, there are many different ways that you can learn not to be mean. Okay? It doesn't mean that you have to be a modern day Scrooge. Okay? There may be a much easier way for you to learn that. Okay? So for example, perhaps you're someone who scrimps and saves, and maybe you scrimp on car repairs and end up having an accident that has long-ranging effects. Okay? Now I know that's a bit of a simplistic example, but I'm just trying to get across to you that there's different ways. You can be the Scrooge-like character who alienates everybody from you because, you're just so mean and you don't spend money and whatever. Or you might end up hurting yourself only. Okay, please God that you don't, have a car crash and hurt somebody else. But, you might end up just you being the one that suffers for it. Okay, so either way, this is a lesson that you had to learn. And very quickly, while we're talking about meanness and money and stuff, you have to spend money. You have to put it out into the universe that you have enough. Okay? So when you're scrimping and saving and you're holding on to money, you're putting out this idea that, you don't have enough. And that's what the universe believes, because that's what you believe to be true. Okay? That's a different podcast. Okay? But the most important thing that I'm trying to get across to you here is that you can determine how things play out in your life simply by controlling the energy around you. Okay, and we talk a lot about manifestation. Some people call it the law of attraction. Okay, but it's my belief that we can all control what happens in our lives simply by what we put out there. Okay, now let me be clear. I don't think that bad things happen to people because they are bad people. Okay, but there has to be a crossover in life. Not everything can be positive. Okay, and if you are someone who's been following me for a while, you will have heard me talking in the past about how crystals work. That it's how the energy that the crystals give out, the crystal's energy, how that interacts with the energy that we as humans give out. Okay, that's what brings about the healing effects. Okay, so if you think about your energy like a crystal, okay, you are here and you're giving out a certain energy, while the people that circle around you, they're going about their own lives giving out their energy. Some of these people you will gel with and you'll attract them to you, and others you will absolutely never ever click with in a million years, and that's okay because they are not meant to be in your life. Okay, so for example, I'm sure the majority of us have been in a romantic relationship at some point or other. Okay, whether you're in one now or at the moment or not is another thing. Okay, but I'm sure you've all experienced it at some point. But did you ever wonder how you met that person? Like, was it predetermined that you would meet that very person at that very time in that very situation? I don't believe it was. Okay, it's my belief that a lot of things conspired to get you both to that point. You both came to that point in your lives in the same place at the same time. So my belief is that both of your energies give out a signal when the time was right for you both to meet. Okay, and then the universe conspired to get you together. Like, does that make sense? It's like you attracted each other. But like if your romantic partner had given out their signal that they were ready to meet somebody at a different time than you had given out yours, well then you both would have met different people. Okay, so it depended on your energy. So I'm definitely not saying that it was predetermined that you'd be with that very person. Okay, but a million different little decisions and a million different little occurrences brought you both together. It could easily have been someone else and somewhere else at a different time. But you both put out the energy. The universe just answered that. So what I'm trying to say here, okay, is that in this situation, both of the individuals would have sent out a signal via their energies. If you think of it like a radio signal, okay, that you're sending out to the universe, like you're pulsing. Okay, after that, it was down to the law of attraction to bring you together. And I hope that it's making sense as I'm saying it. It sounds right in my head. Okay. Now, I have to acknowledge that not every relationship will be happy and not every relationship will work out. Okay, that's another lesson that some of us need to learn. Unfortunately so, but sometimes we have to learn that lesson. And I believe it's all down to reincarnation. You know, maybe you left somebody, you know, from a relationship. Maybe you cheated on somebody. Maybe you divorced somebody in a previous relationship in a previous lifetime. And in this lifetime, it's your lesson to experience the flip side of that coin. Okay, so I've talked about that in a previous episode. So when we're talking about the law of attraction, let's go full circle and bring it back around to psychic readings. Okay, because many people believe that when they go or come to me for a psychic reading, whether it's me or somebody else, so whether the reader's using tarot cards, crystal balls, whatever they're using, okay, people believe that it's going to be able to tell them exactly what their future holds for them. And I discussed this last week that I don't believe that this is the case at all. I believe that as readers, that we can map out the pathways of possibility that are open to people. And what I mean by this is that we can draw somebody's attention to a particular area of their life that needs attention, okay? And by doing that, we get you to open up your energy for improvement in that particular area. And then we begin the law of attraction, okay? Now, I know that probably sounds a little bit complicated. But for example, okay, when I'm reading someone, I'm using several different ways of reading their energy. You know, yeah, I'm using the tarot cards. And yes, I've done their numerology. But I'm also reading their aura and I'm connecting with their spirit guides. You know, I'm using all of these things to get a full and in-depth insight into what's going on for them and what areas of their lives need attention. Okay? Because once we open up your thinking to a certain aspect of your life, you know, yes, we can see where things are heading, given the energy you were presented with on a particular day. You know, we can only read the energy you present with. But once your awareness is opened up to what's happening or what's coming up, then you immediately make a decision about what it is that you want. And then you begin to open your energy up to allow this to happen. And therefore you begin the process of attraction. Okay, it's all about opening energy up. You know, there's no point in going for a psychic reading if you're not open to whatever the reader is going to tell you, because it might not be what you had on your mind when you booked the session, but that's why you're coming. Okay? And, you know, I want to be clear, and I have said this before, that we cannot control what happens in the world around us. We can only control how we react to it. Okay? So as psychics, we can definitely see what's happening around you, you know, what's coming up for you. What we can't always accurately predict is how you'll react to it. Like, and that's going to give you a big outcome one way or the other. Okay? Because all of those things, all of your reactions and attitudes towards something, that all contributes to the outcome. Okay? You'll blame the psychic anyway. That's okay. I'm used to that. But, you know, you have to open your energy and work with it, you know, for things to work out the way that you want to. And, you know, some people will completely close themselves down after a reading. You know, they don't want to hear anything that was said to them because it's not what they wanted to hear. Okay, but that happens with everything in life. Okay? And, you know, I was thinking about this earlier while I was getting ready to record the podcast. And I was thinking, you know, there's times in our lives where we feel that we're down. Okay, we feel that nothing's going right for us. We feel that, you know, our luck is bad. And, you know, we seem to be caught up in a pattern. Okay, and, you know, everybody's always said this. You know, we always say it, bad things happen in threes. You know, my husband did it at the weekend. He dropped something and then something else happened. He goes, well, you know, there's going to be something else because the bad things always happen in threes. And lo and behold, something else did happen. But he manifested that. You know, he absolutely attracted that to himself. Okay? You know, because when something happens, we break something, we lose something, then we begin to get down on ourselves. And we're like, oh, we're waiting for the next thing to happen, because we all know that bad things happen in threes. And then something else goes wrong. And then something else. And then all of a sudden you've had your run of bad luck. And then you start to believe that the time is now right for good luck to happen, because you think you've exhausted all of your bad luck. Okay? But what really goes on in these situations? Okay, so as I have said already, you have an aura. It's your energy. It's where you yourself, you give out positive and negative vibrations to the world around you. So if you're the kind of person that believes that a negative action can't possibly happen in isolation, then you will automatically begin waiting for the next bad thing to happen. And then voila, you manifest bad luck for yourself. It's inevitable. That's how the law of attraction works. Now, if we could only shift this thinking to positive energy, and we rarely do. I'm the same myself. We rarely do it. But some people can. And when something positive happens, they believe that they're on a lucky streak or a winning streak. And then they begin to attract more positivity to themselves. And this is the law of attraction. Okay, you get a negative one, you get a positive one. It's all about energy. So when we're talking about psychic readings, how does the law of attraction feed into that? Okay, so my belief of readings is, and I can only talk for myself, I don't believe that we as psychics should be telling people, what's going to happen. You're going to move house, you're going to change job, you're going to meet the person that you're going to marry in the club at the weekend, okay? I'm not saying that none of these things are important. They are. But all of these things are choices. Do you want to move house? Do you want to change job? Do you want a relationship? All of these things are choices. So what we should do, okay, and I try to do this in readings, is to open people up to the possibilities in life. I talk about the path that is in front of them. And I talk to them about how they can work with what life is throwing at them so that they can attract the outcome that they are looking for. Okay, so when I'm reading people, I'm looking for, what healing needs to take place. What obstacles need to be overcome so that the person that I'm reading for can raise their vibration so that they can get themselves into a frequency where they can attract all of the things that they need in their lives to make themselves happy. Okay? So again, it's all about the energy. And when you see the possibilities that are there for you, your energy will rise up to meet them and attract them to you. Okay? So let's give an example. Okay, I love my examples, don't I? But I find it's the easiest way to get my point across. Okay, so if I'm reading someone and they want to meet someone that, they want to have a romantic relationship. And, I might look at their cards and I might see that it's going to be, for example, I might say to somebody, okay, well, yes, you're going to meet somebody, but it's going to be 2.5 years from now, okay, before you meet the right person. And when I tell somebody this, what happens then is that they tattle off after the reading and they believe that it's not going to happen until then. So therefore, they're not going to attract any other potential partners to themselves before then. And then I'm right. Okay, then they won't meet anybody. It's like if you don't play the lotto, you're not going to win. Okay, so if they're not attracting people to them, well then, they're not going to meet anybody for 2.5 years. But what I do in these situations is I try to look at the why. Why isn't this person attracting the right partner to themselves? They want it now. Why isn't it happening now? So I look at whatever else is going on in their lives and try to steer them to a place where they can begin working on themselves so that they can remove any blockages or any obstacles that they are using to block their energy. And guys, we love to block our energy. And then we turn around and we go, oh, well, that's predetermined. I wasn't supposed to meet somebody until then. You can, of course, meet somebody earlier than that. Okay, if you look at the reasons why. So what kind of blocks are you working with that might stop you from meeting somebody? Okay, so maybe somebody had previously been in an abusive relationship, or maybe they were in a relationship that ended badly, and because of this, they could be holding on to false beliefs. Okay, they've been in a bad situation previously, so they now believe the old things, the I'm not good enough, the I don't deserve to be loved, or the old reliable one, every man is a pig. Okay, all of those kind of things. We fall into our old beliefs and then we block ourselves from attracting somebody else to us. Okay? Because we believe these things to be true, don't we? And by believing this negativity, we're holding our vibration at such a low level that it's actually impossible for us to attract anybody to us at that moment, okay? So the only reason that they don't meet the right person now is because they themselves are not ready, okay? And, you know, I have to point out the obvious danger with this one before I go any further, okay? Which is, that, if I say this to somebody, they might well meet somebody exactly 2.5 years after our reading, because all of a sudden it's 2.5 years, they're aware of this, their consciousness is open to it, and therefore then, bam, the first person they meet, they think this must be the one. But that might not be the right one. But they think that because the reading said it, then it must be true. Okay, but it might be the week after that you actually meet the one that you're supposed to be with. So there's lots of permutations and combinations that are possible around this, okay? But it all starts with you. And the real danger with psychic readings is that some people believe that they have no control over their lives. Okay, they believe that they've come here with the soul contract that dictates everything that they do and everything that happens to them in their lives. And that's wrong. I mean, do you really think that your spiritual development depends on whether or not you move house in 2031? Or does it depend on whether or not you decide to change your career to something that's more creative than what you're doing now? Okay, it'll make you happy in the short term, but what that does is raise your vibration. Okay, these decisions are entirely a personal choice. But the outcomes of those decisions make you happier. Well, obviously, if moving house and changing job is what you want, okay? But when you do something that makes you happier, then you begin vibrating at a higher level, and then you're attracting lots more positive energy into your life, okay? And with that comes more luck and more positivity, okay? I hope this is making sense to you. What I'm trying to get across to you is that by coming to me asking what you should do or when you should do it, like that's giving me control over your life. And my opinion does not matter to what you want for your life. What you should be doing is taking whatever your reader says to you and applying it so you can heal yourself, so that you can raise your vibration and begin to attract all of the things you ever wanted in life. Okay? Now, this does not mean that I think readings are pointless. Absolutely not. Okay? I do love a good reading myself, and I do love having my energy read. I had a picture taken of my aura, and it was so interesting. But it's my belief that at a basic level, the very least the reading can do for you is to give you a snapshot of the things that are coming into your life and the things that are leaving your life over the next while. So that you can prepare yourself. Okay, because, remember I said earlier that you can't control what happens in your life. The only thing you can do is control how you react to it. And that's exactly what a reading can do. It can help you prepare for these changes. Okay? And it also has to be said here that the majority of people who come for readings already know what's going to be said. And I said this to people all the time in readings. We all have an idea of what's coming up. If we're honest with ourselves, we kind of do. And even people who come to me wondering if their partner is having an affair, they know deep down whether or not their partner is having an affair. What they're looking for is clarification from someone who doesn't have a dog in the race. And only when they hear it from an independent observer will they allow themselves to believe it and allow themselves to receive the information and allow their energy to absorb it so that they can react to it. And only when they know that, then they're ready to decide what they will or what they won't do about the situation. I was listening to an inspirational speaker recently. She was an American lady, and she said that all roads lead to self-love. And if we think about this, it's so true, isn't it? Because everything we experience and everything we go through and react to ultimately teaches us something new about ourselves that we take action on in order to heal ourselves, and therefore we raise our vibration. Okay? So it's working on ourselves. Do you get it? It's about self-love. So what a psychic reading is about is learning what areas you need to work on right now so that you can let the healing energy of spirit in. And as a result of that, you raise your vibration and ultimately love yourself enough so that you understand that you deserve all of the good that the universe has to offer you. And once you know you deserve it, then you can begin to attract it. Okay? And, I want to use this example, but I totally get that not everybody is drawn to like Conor McGregor. Okay? Personally, I love him. I think he's brilliant. Do I think that he's perfect? Absolutely not. And I'm sure he'd say the same about me. But when it comes to attracting things to himself, like for me, he is just the champion. And there's a famous clip of him that you might have seen when he was around 20 years old. He was interviewed for a documentary on Irish television about MMA fighting. And in that interview, he introduced himself and he told everyone that he was going to be the face of the UFC and that he was going to be the ultimate champion and make enough money to secure the future of himself and his children and his grandchildren. Okay? Now we all know how this turned out. He did absolutely become the face of the UFC. And he's now a billionaire to boot. He has many, many business ventures to his name. Okay? And, I'll do a separate episode and talk about the language that he used. You'll notice, when I was repeating it, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he said, that he was going to be the face of the UFC. He didn't say, I think I'm going to be. He didn't say, I want to be. He said, I am going to be. And I am going to be the ultimate champion. And I am going to make enough money. Okay, so he didn't think it. He absolutely put it out there that this is what's going to happen, and I'll accept nothing less. So my point here is that Conor believed in himself. He believed himself worthy. And some people just call him a cocky young dub. That's what they called him back then. They call him a cocky older dub now. Okay, but there is absolutely no denying that he believed in himself and he made it happen. And he's the kind of person that you'd meet, and because he vibrates at such a high level on a daily basis, he's actually addictive and he attracts like-minded people to himself. Okay? So a good way to find out what kind of frequency you are vibrating at, a good way is to look around you at the people that you attract into your energy. Are they serving you and your needs, or are they consistently taking from you without giving anything back? Because if you're carrying people like this who consistently moan and feel sorry for themselves, then that's exactly what you will do. Because people love to keep us on a low frequency or vibration with them. It suits them. They feel comfortable there, and they feel better with you there too. Okay, because the saying goes, misery loves company, and that's what they want. They want that company down there. I feel like I'm going on a little bit too much, but this is a topic that I could drone on about forever and ever and still want to make more points. But I want to finish up by saying this. If there's something you want, if you're looking for, a relationship, a new job, to move house, whatever it is, you need to start with you and by loving yourself. Because if you don't look after yourself and learn to love yourself, then you won't ever believe that you deserve it. And therefore, it's unlikely to ever happen for you. Okay, and I'm always saying this, people that have had readings from me will have heard me say this. Life does not come and fall into your lap on a Saturday night while you're watching the X Factor. Okay, you need to get up and work for it. Work on yourself. Surround yourself with positive people. And when you start vibrating at a higher rate, you will notice the little changes begin to happen. Okay, it won't happen overnight. I'm not promising you that. You need to give it a little time. You need to introduce the changes slowly. Okay, start by honouring yourself. Start saying no to invitations that don't serve you. Okay, stop giving away your time to things that don't feed in to what you need from your life. Start turning off the phone when you leave work if you're a workaholic. Okay, people can wait until the morning. Okay, run yourself a nice hot bath. Light a candle. Okay, put on your favourite thing on YouTube. Whatever it is, that, your, what do they call it? A guilty pleasure? Okay, put on One Direction, whatever it might be. But do everything to honour yourself. And after a couple of months, you will begin to notice the difference. Okay? Now, I'm sure you're all sitting there thinking psychic readings are a lot more complicated than I thought they were. And they are. And I was thinking of rebranding them as spiritual assessments, because there is so much more going on in a reading than you think. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Okay, but I will ask you to please consider giving this podcast a review. Okay, listenership has been steadily growing, but people rarely take the time to give a rating. And just by giving me a 5-star review, you don't even have to write anything, just hit the 5 stars. It will help more people to see my little podcast, and I would really appreciate it. Okay, I'll start vibrating at a higher level. Okay, so guys, that's a little bit about the law of attraction and how it feeds into what you should be getting from a psychic reading. Okay, no psychic is going to tell you how to live your life and what decisions to make. And it's not even about a psychic telling you, well, this is going on for you now, that's going on for you. We're talking about what you need to do to prepare yourself for the future, and what you can do to attract a more positive outcome to your life. So guys, for now I'm going to say goodbye. I will see you in the next episode of the Life After Life podcast. So until then, take care and stay safe.
Discussing everything